Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Maryland ABLE Accounts and How They Benefit Your Loved One with Special Needs, presented by Maryland ABLE's Outreach and Communications Manager, Kelly Nelson. My name is Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director with Elville and Associates, and I'll be moderating today's event. So how this will work today, if you're new to our webinars, if you are, welcome, we're glad you're here. And if you're a returning attendee, thank you for being here as well. So you as the attendee are in listen-only mode. However, if and when you have questions, please note them in the questions panel on the right-hand portion of your screen, and we'll take time throughout the presentation to address them. So your questions really help the presentation and they add value, they help others learn. So please don't be shy in posing your questions at any time. So you received the presentation yesterday by email from me to take notes on it if you wish. If for some reason you did not get the presentation, it is available in the section marked handouts and the panel on your screen to download at this time. For CFPs, CPAs, and various other professionals on today's webinar, you may receive 1.5 continuing education hours for attending. So per my attendance records requirements, please email me your ID number. And for CFPs only, I also must have the last 4 digits of your social security number as soon as possible so I can submit your CE hours for approval. Everyone will also receive post-webinar feedback email right after the presentation, and I ask that you please take just a couple minutes to fill out this simple survey to offer us your feedback about the presentation. So here at Elville and Associates, we work every day with families with special needs with ideals of client education, compassion, and collaboration in mind, and you should expect nothing less from us anytime that you work with us, or any company for that matter. So we're always available for free consultations to discuss your family's needs, and we always look forward to being a resource to you. So I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Ms. Kelly Nelson, and give her a proper introduction. So Kelly has worked in the field of disabilities for more than 30 years. She has served in many roles supporting people with disabilities and their families through advocacy, education, and connecting them to vital resources within their community. As a parent of a child with disabilities, Kelly is passionate about helping her daughter to become a confident self-advocate as she pursues her goals of working and living independently in the community. As the Outreach and Communications Manager for Maryland ABLE, she is delighted to have the opportunity to connect with many people with disabilities, their families, and the staff that support them as she travels throughout Maryland, educating people about the benefits of having an ABLE account. Through her outreach endeavors, Kelly is excited to see how her work with Maryland ABLE is helping to promote personal choice, independence, and economic stability for people with disabilities. So welcome, Kelly, and before I get started here, I want to start off with just a really brief poll to get everybody comfortable with participating, and so Kelly can tailor the presentation to you and get an idea of who our attendees are today. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll, and you should see it pop up on your screen in just a minute. And the poll is pretty simple. It's how familiar are you with Maryland ABLE accounts? So I'm going to launch that, and your choices are I have an ABLE account and I'm here to learn more. Second, I have heard of ABLE accounts and I'm here to learn more. Third, I want to set up an ABLE account and have questions. Or fourth, I'm an advisor here to learn to better serve my clients. So take just a few seconds to make the selection that best suits your situation, and then we'll get started. All right, so it looks like everybody that wants to vote has voted. So the choices have been made, and we have 14% saying, I have an ABLE account and I'm here to learn more. 43% say, I have heard of ABLE accounts and I'm here to learn more. 7% say, I want to set up an ABLE account and have questions. And 36% say, I'm an advisor here to learn to better serve my clients. So welcome everybody, and thanks for participating in our brief poll. Kelly, I'm gonna make you the panelist. I see your screen there, looks good.
Fantastic, thank you. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to be here, and I'm very grateful to all the wonderful folks over there at Elville and Associates for making this possible today. I do appreciate that Jeff shared that nice introduction, but one of the things that I just like to tell people again is that in addition to working with Maryland ABLE and having an understanding of the regulations and all those things, I always like to share with people that I have the experience, the practical real life experience of helping my daughter to manage her ABLE account, and I serve in the role as her authorized legal representative. So it's always exciting to me because not only do I get to tell people about ABLE accounts, but I actually get to see it work in her life and in our family's life. And I've really seen a lot of ways that she's benefited in her independence and learning about financial literacy skills. And plus it's given her father and I a way to plan and prepare for her future. So I am excited to be here and share that with you. My plan for this morning is to provide you with an overview of ABLE legislation, ABLE accounts, how the program works. We're going to discuss the eligibility criteria and all the parameters that are associated with that. We're going to talk about how we can save and invest. And we're going to talk about things that are going to apply to ABLE accounts nationwide. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little shift and we're going to start focusing on some of the features that are specific to Maryland ABLE. So we're going to cover both. So let's go ahead and get started. We do have lots of information to cover. And as Jeff said, I welcome all questions. We will take some little breaks in between and give you a chance to ask them as we move through the presentation. So first, let's take a look at what is ABLE. And basically, ABLE accounts are a way for people with disabilities and their families to be able to finally save money without jeopardizing those federal and state means tested benefits. These are things like SSI, Medicaid, and waiver services like food, housing, and energy assistance. And I say finally because many folks with disabilities who have been receiving SSI benefits, very critical benefits that they rely on, have had a real challenge in that they've not been able to save beyond that $2,000 asset limit. So this has caused a problem. I mean, imagine saying to anyone on this meeting today, hey, what are your plans for your future? What kind of life would you like to live? How would you like to retire? What do you want to do? Where would you like to live? What would you like to have? Save for that. Plan for that. Oh, but by the way, you can't ever have more than $2,000 or it's going to jeopardize your benefits. It just doesn't make sense. So thanks to the advocacy efforts of many, many people over the last couple decades, people with disabilities, their family members, lots of advocacy and organization groups. And finally, under the leadership of under a gentleman named Stephen Beck Jr., we have a way finally to be able to save money. In 2014, the Stephen A. Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Experience Act was signed into law. And that's where we get the acronym ABLE, Achieving a Better Life Experience. So when this happened, it gave states across the country the ability to open ABLE programs and make ABLE accounts available. However, it didn't federally mandate for states to open programs, and it didn't provide any funding for them to do so. So it has taken some time to start seeing these programs pop up. Here in Maryland, our legislation was signed into law in 2016, and we launched our program in 2017. So here at the end of November, we're going to be 4 years old. So for those of you who are just starting to learn a bit about Maryland ABLE, it's because we are still, still getting the word out there. I like to tell everyone that the main thing about ABLE accounts that really just made it such a landmark legislation is that ability to be able to save beyond this $2,000 limit and actually be able to save up to $100,000. So what a game changer that was for people with disabilities. At this point, I'd just like to mention to you that the legislation is actually part of the Internal Revenue Code. We are section 529A. Some of you might be familiar with 529, and that's our college savings plan people. So we're sort of connected. Think of us as sister agencies, if you will, within that code. And we here in Maryland are actually operated by Maryland 529, the college savings plans, right? And we share an executive director as well as a board of directors. So that's kind of where we fit in. Let's take a look at the main reasons why people open ABLE accounts. Well, the first is the one I just mentioned, and that's increasing those saving limits from being able to go beyond that $2,000 resource limit all the way up to $100,000 before those SSI cash benefits are impacted. And also, again, it's going to protect the Medicaid as well and all those Medicaid waiver services like food and housing and energy assistance. Another great reason why people open ABLE accounts is that you do not pay federal or state taxes on the earnings while the funds are in your ABLE account. And you're not going to pay taxes on them when you withdraw the money, as long as you're using those funds for what we call qualified disability expenses. And we will get into that a lot more in just a few minutes down the road. Another great benefit is that here in Maryland, and many states do, not all states, but here in Maryland, we have access to a Maryland state income tax deduction for contributions made to an ABLE account, $2,500 per contributor per beneficiary. So that's another great benefit. The other attractive feature about ABLE accounts is that we provide easy online enrollment and account management. So for many families who have navigated this process of benefits and planning for the future, you know, it just comes with these big applications, and you know, you fill them out and you may or you may not get accepted, and it's been a lot of families have been through a lot just applying for different things. But here with ABLE accounts, you can do it right online, and it's much easier. And the other great thing is that you can access your funds at any time, because with an online account management system, you can make contributions and take withdrawals as well. So those are some of the main features of why people open ABLE accounts. Let's take a look at the eligibility criteria for having an ABLE account. Basically, there's two criteria. First of all, you had to have developed a disability prior to your 26th birthday. And the second is that you have to have a disability that meets the Social Security Administration's definition of a disability. So the way that you would be able to show that is one of two ways. First, you may be receiving SSI or SSDI. And if that's the case, we already know that this person's eligible because Social Security has examined their documentation and found them to qualify. For some of you that may be listening, you may have a family member who is not currently receiving SSI benefits, and that's okay. I personally happen to be one of those families in this scenario. My daughter is 17 years old and currently does not receive SSI benefits. However, once she turns 18, it is very, very likely that she will begin receiving those SSI benefits. So in my situation, what we did is we printed off that disability certification form that's available on our website at www.marylandable.org. And on that website, we have a tab, a resource tab. You would just click on forms, and that's where you're going to find this disability certification form, as well as all the other forms that I'm going to talk about throughout the presentation. You would just download that form, print it off, and take it to a licensed physician. And once that person receives the form, they put the disability code on there and sign it, and you just maintain that copy. You don't have to submit that into Maryland ABLE, but you want to keep that for your records. Just in case you were ever pulled for an audit to see if you qualify for an ABLE account, you would have that available. I do like to point out, and I'm going to stop here for any questions, but I do like to point out that there's a lot of misconceptions when you hear that number 26, and I'm just going to do some myth busting right now. People hear that and they think, oh, wow, I have to wait until I'm 26 to open an ABLE account, or, oh, no, I didn't open it before I was 26. That's not the case. You can have an ABLE account at any age. We have over 4,000 ABLE account holders, some of which are just several months old. We have people that are in their 80s. So you can have an account at any time. You just had to have the onset of that disability prior to the 26th birthday. Okay, so any questions about eligibility criteria before we move on?
Thanks, Kelly. Don't have any specific questions about eligibility criteria. We do have a question that I think, received through every presentation, which is how can an ABLE account work in tandem with a special needs trust? Don't know if you want to address that now or hold off on that one for the time being.
That's a great question, and we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit, but I'm going to cover that when we talk about the contribution, standard annual contribution amount, and we'll do a little discussion about that at that point. So bear with me, and I promise we'll get to that.
Thank you.
So let's take a look at who owns the ABLE account. It's important to know that ABLE accounts are always owned by the person with the disability. They are both the owner and the beneficiary of the account. So this is a little different than from other types of accounts. Take, for example, a college savings plan, right? You may be the owner of the college savings plan that you have for your family member, but he or she may be the beneficiary. With ABLE, they're always the owner and the beneficiary. And they're also the person that can manage the account. Now, having said that, we do realize that there are many of our account holders who need assistance in managing their ABLE accounts. And what we have in place for that is something called the authorized legal representative, or as I'm going to refer to it from here on out as the ALR. So this is for an account holder that is either under the age of 18, because as a minor, you can't have your own type of bank account. You have to have an adult serving with you and have them serve as the ALR. But this is also for someone who is an adult, who's over the age of 18, that is going to require assistance in managing that account. The difference is once a person turns 18, they are an adult and they have to give consent for you to be able to serve as the ALR. And this can be done in a couple of ways. The ALR can provide a copy of the guardianship, or they can provide a copy of power of attorney over finances or property, or they can use the limited power of attorney over the ABLE account only form, which is available on our website. So sometimes people haven't really worked that out yet, and in the process of trying to determine are we going to have power of attorney over medical, over property, and if they haven't figured that out yet, they can access that form on our website. Again, that's going to be the limited power of attorney that applies just to ABLE accounts. And this form has already been developed, and you would just take it to a notary, and it would be signed by the account owner, as well as the person intending to serve as the ALR, and it would be witnessed and notarized, and you would have to upload that document. So that's important for folks to know, because I know a lot of times people that have family members that they've been caring for throughout their life, and they turn 18, sometimes there's confusion about whether or not someone can remain on a bank account for a person with a disability that's over the age of 18. But with the age of majority, the rules say that you do have to have consent to serve. Are there any questions about power of attorney or limited power of attorney over ABLE?
No questions about that, Kelly.
Okay, great. So look at some things about contributions, things we need to know about the contributions. Here in Maryland, in order to open your ABLE account, it requires an initial deposit of $25. And from that point on, you decide how much you want to put into the ABLE account and when, as long as those contributions are a minimum of $10. So you can set them up to be monthly. You can just make contributions whenever you want to, every couple months, every year. It's totally up to you. Here's the big thing that we need to keep in mind about ABLE accounts, and that is that they have a standard annual contribution limit. And this is going to apply to ABLE programs nationwide. So currently that amount is $15,000. This is tied, and this is where you're going to begin to see some tie-ins to us being within the Internal Revenue Code. So this is actually the amount that is tied to the federal gift tax law. And as the federal gift tax law changes, or when it does, it is also going to impact Maryland ABLE standard annual contribution limit. And we have actually just heard that in 2022, the gift tax law is going to be increased to $16,000. So you guys are the first to hear that today, because we just actually received an email today with information about that. But currently for this year, for 2021, there is a standard annual contribution limit of $15,000. So right away, some of you that are listening are thinking, so I'm going to be using my ABLE account as a planning tool for my family member. So some of you are thinking that is limiting, that $15,000 contribution limit is limiting. And it is, because, you know, if you pass away and you leave insurance settlement to someone, you can't, chances are a life insurance policy is going to be more than $15,000. So if someone passes away, they want to leave $50,000, $80,000. You can't do that with an ABLE account, because you have a maximum contribution limit of $15,000. So this is where we begin to see a need for multiple planning tools in that planning kit, okay? So ABLE accounts and special needs trusts, they complement one another. We are not in competition with one another, but rather they're different types of tools in the toolkit. So this is where you tend to think of a need for a special needs trust for those larger amounts, things like insurance settlements. Oh my goodness, why am I totally spacing on that name now? Settlements from lawsuits, things like that. It gives you a way to be able to put money, larger amounts of contributions into that. There is no limit on how much money you can contribute to a special needs trust. So one of the things that I recommend that you do is that you educate yourself a bit about the difference between ABLE accounts and special needs trusts, because they both help to plan for the future. They're both asset protection accounts. Money that's in an ABLE account cannot be counted against the person by Social Security. So they're both doing the same thing, but one allows greater amounts of contributions to go in annually. There's no contribution limit with a special needs trust, whereas ABLE accounts, there's that $15,000 a year. And there's also some different management things too. With an ABLE account, you have access to all the funds in your account anytime you need them. With a special needs trust, that beneficiary is going to be depending upon the person serving in the role of trustee. So there's lots of differences. There's a great site. It's called specialneedsanswers.com, and it's www.specialneedsanswers.com, where you can look up a really great comparison between how ABLE accounts can be used and special needs trusts. And what I love about that, and I know that Elville and Associates is listed as one of the attorneys here in this area, but that's another thing. It has a great tool in there to be able to locate people that specialize, elder care attorneys, estate planning attorneys that understand the difference between creating a trust that includes benefits, federal and state means tested benefits. So that's a very good tool for you. And definitely any questions you have about that, you have a great resource with Elville here, so they can answer more questions about special needs trusts. One of the things that people ask a lot is, hey, I have a special needs trust for my son or daughter. Can I fund my ABLE account with money from a special needs trust? And the answer to that is yes. This is something that people, we see this a lot because, again, it puts the money into an ABLE account up to $15,000 a year that people can access quickly and easily online. So that's a great tool. So now that I've told you about this $15,000 contribution limit, I'm going to tell you the exception to the rule, and that is the able to work contributions. These are for account owners and beneficiaries who qualify for able to work. These are folks that are working and are not contributing to a retirement plan through their employer, and their employer is not contributing to a retirement plan. So for these individuals, they are able to contribute up to an additional $12,760 per year. So $15,000 can be contributed by anyone, but folks who qualify for able to work contributions, they can contribute up to $12,760. This is going to change annually because it is actually tied to, it's actually equal to the federal poverty level for a one-person household. So this does change from year to year, but currently it is $12,760. And I'm going to pop over to this next slide real quick. And as Jeff said, you guys will have access to the slide deck that I'm using today. And this will provide you with more detailed information. But again, qualifying for able to work contributions means that the account owner is working, they're employed, right? And they're not contributing to another retirement plan. That's things like 401k, 403b, okay? And your employer, the employer is not contributing on their behalf. It also tells you a little bit more about the parameters, okay? So, for example, if your family member is working part-time and they're making $5,000 a year, and if they wanted to, and if they could contribute an additional $5,000. But let's just say down the road, they get a full-time job and now they're making $15,000 or $16,000 a year, whatever. They're still limited to that $12,760 for this calendar year. Are there any questions about able to work before we talk about some of the other account balances, contribution limits?
Thanks, Kelly. We do have a couple of questions going back just a little bit. And the first one is, if I was authorized before my son turned 18, do I still need to upload the POA form?
So if you already are serving as the ALR prior to your child turning 18, you will eventually be getting a letter just saying, hey, your child has reached the age of majority, and please submit one of these choices. So then you could do that at that point, yes. But it's not like you're going to be terminated as the ALR on their 18th birthday. It's a process. Okay. You'll be given some time to provide those documents.
Okay, another question. If someone is a rep payee for SSI, why is additional paperwork needed to be an ALR for ABLE?
Because the money that a person is managing as rep payee is limited to their Social Security funds, right? Those SSI cash benefits. But ABLE accounts have other money in it. It could be SSI funds, but it could be people's other assets. So that's why we want to make sure that we have consent for someone to be serving in that role.
Okay, thank you. That's it for now.
All right, great. So now let's talk about this $100,000 account balance that we will have. Again, this is going to apply to ABLE accounts nationwide. So what happens is money that's in a regular bank account, you can have up to $2,000, right? When you go beyond that resource limit, you're considered over-resourced, and after a while, if you don't reduce those funds or take those money out of your bank account, spend it down, you will eventually become disenrolled from Social Security, from SSI cash benefits. Money that is in Enable account is also protected, but you can have up to $100,000 in an Enable account before it's going to impact those SSI cash benefits. But here's the important thing. Even after, if you were to go beyond $100,000 in your Enable account, what would happen is the SSI cash benefits would go into a state of suspension. You would not become disenrolled for going over 100,000, but rather those benefits would be in a state of suspension. You would no longer receive those monthly SSI cash benefits. However, your Medicaid and any Medicaid waivers would remain in place. So that's really important, because outside of an Enable account, when you lose SSI, you can lose the Medicaid and all those waivers, right? In an Enable account, you are able to go beyond that $100,000 limit, but those SSI cash benefits are in a state of suspension, but Medicaid remains. And at any point, you should spend down any of that money, and your account balance should fall below $100,000. What would happen is Social Security would be able to automatically reactivate those benefits because you were not disenrolled. You were in a state of suspension. So that's how that goes. Are there any questions about that $100,000 account balance?
It doesn't appear so, Kelly. Thank you.
So again, people can save or invest beyond that $100,000, but if they were to choose to do so, it would impact those SSI cash benefits. For folks who are receiving SSDI, they don't have that $2,000 asset limitation, so it doesn't impact them in that way. So then we have a $500,000 account balance limit, which after, at this point, we would no longer be able to accept contributions to the Enable account until that balance fell below $500,000. And this is where you see us being tied into Maryland 529. This is the contribution limit for the college savings plan. And this is basically, this is my fun fact of the day for you guys. This amount will change from time to time as well, but currently it's $500,000. So when the actuaries looked at the cost of a college education for a child born today, this is what they determined it will be. So again, this could change. It could go up in the future, but currently it is $500,000. So for Thanksgiving dinner, when you're sitting around having your meal with your families, you can give them that little fun fact. That's the cost of a college education for a child born today. Okay, so let's take a look at the Able Financial Planning Act, which is awesome news for Able account holders. This made it possible for people to be able to roll over funds from a 529 college savings plan and roll that into an Able account. And what's nice about this is that families who opened a college savings plan when someone was very young, they've been saving money, and as the person gets older, they may say, you know what, I'm not sure my son or daughter is going to be using this money for a traditional four-year college education. So they can roll these funds into an Able account, and then their family member can still use the money for college or education, but it also opens it up for them to be able to use it on any of those qualified disability expenses that supports them in their health, independence, or quality of life. So it gives you so much more flexibility on how the money could be used. Do remember, though, that these rollovers are still subject to that $15,000 a year standard annual contribution limit, or next year, $16,000 a year. So if grandma has opened a college savings plan and she's got $30,000 in this account, you could roll over $15,000 this year and $15,000 next year. But basically, you kind of have to ladle it out until you can roll all that money over and still stay within that annual contribution limit. Any questions about rollovers from 529 accounts?
No questions, Kelly.
Great.
Thanks.
So let's talk a little bit about those savings and investment options that we see with Able accounts. You know, not only are you able to save beyond that $2,000 limit, but you're actually given opportunities to either keep your money in a traditional FDIC insured banking product, or you can choose to keep those money in one of the investment options. Now, this does vary from state to state, but here in Maryland, we have a couple of different options. The first that I mentioned was the cash option. It is an FDIC insured savings account, and you are going to be receiving whatever the federal interest rate is at the time. Okay. The other option is you could choose to do one of the investments. Currently, there are 3 different investments. These are mutual funds that are managed by Vanguard, and you have a choice between a conservative, moderate, or aggressive fund. The conservative is currently made up of 80% bonds and 20% in the market. So it gives you a little more earning potential than what you might be getting in the cash savings option, but it is still it's not that risky. So the aggressive option would be pretty much the opposite of that, where we have 76% in the market and 14% in bonds. And that moderate is going to be a 50-50 split between the two. So there's no right or wrong answer. It really is just something that each account owner and family is going to have to look at that and decide what is the best option for them. We do see that ABLE accounts are used differently by different people. Some folks open up ABLE accounts because they're looking for it to be that saving or investment tool for long-term savings. This is especially something we see when people have a child born with a disability and they're just looking for a way to put money away. They're not really planning on accessing those funds all that often. So they tend to go with those investment options that have more of a long-term payoff. Now, we also have lots of account holders who use ABLE accounts very transactionary. So they're the folks that are putting money into their ABLE account every month, but they're also accessing those funds. So for them, they tend to like the cash option, but they can do, it's a totally personal choice, whatever is best for them. And the great thing is, I always tell folks, when you're thinking of opening an ABLE account, don't get stressed out about this, okay, for a couple of reasons. You have time to seek the advice of someone that has some, a financial advisor or someone that you trust that can help you pick the best option. And you also have the opportunity to change this up to 2 times per calendar year. So if you start out in the cash option and you decide a couple, months later that you might want to try one of the investments, you log into your account. That's the beauty of an online account. You log in, you can make those changes right online in just a minute and save it. You can do it 2 times a year. Okay. It's also important to know that people can choose a mixture of both. So you can put 80% in the cash option, 20% in one of the investment options. So lots of flexibility there, lots of flexibility. Are there any questions about the savings versus investment options?
No questions.
All righty. So let's take a look at who can contribute to an ABLE account. The good news is that anybody can contribute to an ABLE account. It could be the account owner, him or herself, family members, friends. It could come from earned income, unemployment funds, economic stimulus payments. Wow, this was a very, very helpful tool this year, is having ABLE accounts, because folks during the pandemic, they were receiving their benefits, but they really couldn't go out and enjoy the community. They couldn't do anything, so they were building up some of their SSI funds were in their regular checking account, and then they get these stimulus payments. So it was a great tool for them to be able to have an ABLE account, to be able to put those excess funds in and still be able to access them whenever they needed it. So remember, we can use rollovers from 529 college savings plans to fund ABLE accounts. And you can also put money in from small inheritances or small settlements. Sometimes we see folks getting back payments for things, and you may get a check of like $5,000 at a time for a back payment for benefits. And this would be a great way to be able to put those money in a protected account. So lots of ways to contribute to ABLE. Now let's take a look at what you can use the money for that's in the ABLE account. We've got this money saved and invested. What can we use it for? The good news is that you can use the funds for anything, any service or any item that supports the account owner in his or her health, independence, or quality of life. So some of you are sitting there thinking, now that I can wrap my head around that. I like that idea. I can think of lots of things how I can use my ABLE account funds for. Some of you are thinking, oh no, I don't like that definition one bit because I don't know, I want to know exactly what I can use those funds for. So the way it is written within the code, the definition is exactly what I said. It's any item or service that supports the person in their health, independence, or quality of life. You are not going to be able to look up a list of items. So some people don't like that because, you know, they've been through a lot. They want to make sure that they are good stewards in helping their family member manage their benefits, and they don't want to get in trouble. So what we recommend to you, whoever's managing the ABLE account, whether that be the account owner himself or, you know, someone serving as the ALR, it is that person's responsibility to determine if an expense is a qualified disability expense. You don't have to call Maryland ABLE and say, can I buy these pair of sneakers? I mean, you don't do that. You have to ask yourself, does this item, does this service or product, does it support my family member in health, independence, or quality of life? So what you're looking at on this slide today is just a list of categories, and they're really just intended to give you some ideas, some guidelines. They're not intended to be an all-inclusive list, but let's take a look at some of these. So when we look at health, prevention, and wellness, some of you right away are thinking, well, that's probably like prescriptions and doctor copays. Absolutely right. But you can also think of it in terms of that therapeutic riding class, all right, or a gym membership. These are also services and expenses that support a person in health, right? When we look at education, we can still use education. We can use funds from the ABLE account to pay for anything that supports someone in their education, whether that be college at a four-year college, matriculated into a program, or it could be a community college. It could be just classes that they would like to take. It could be for tutoring. It could be for books. So lots of things when you think about education, right? Housing is pretty self-explanatory, but I do like to point out that this is one area that there is special parameters. So if you are going to be using funds from the ABLE account to pay for rent, let's say, when you withdraw the funds from the ABLE account, you have to pay for that rent within that month. So in other words, it's November rent is due, you withdraw that money in the month of November and pay that rent within that month. This is the only special area where we see that having to be done. Let's just take a look at transportation. This could be for taxis, Ubers, it could be buses, it could be airline tickets, for ABLE account owners that are driving and have their own vehicle. You can use it to purchase a vehicle and maintain your vehicle. So you need tires on your car, right? You need oil changes. If you're working and you need to be able to get yourself to work, these are all things that are included. So just try to think about, you know, the different ways that these categories apply. Assistive technology, well, you know, computers, right? Screen readers, but it can also be for your cell phone and that monthly cell phone service. So just some ideas here. Let's take a chance to pause and see if we have any questions about what qualifies as a qualified disability expense.
Let's see, Kelly. No questions as of yet. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So what we do recommend is that you always maintain your receipts. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be a file folder that says ABLE account 2021. Maintain those receipts. Because again, Maryland ABLE is not going to be checking in with you to see how you are using the money that you've withdrawn. But in the event of an audit, and by audit, I mean who? The IRS, right? If you're ever pulled for an audit or your family member is audited, they're going to want to know two things, because remember, these are tax advantage savings accounts, intended only for a person with a disability. They're going to want to know two things. Number one, do you qualify to have this ABLE account? Well, if you're receiving SSI or SSDI, or you have that disability certification form, you can check that off the list, right? That would satisfy them. Then they're going to want to know, how are you using this money in this account? Because again, it is tax advantaged. They're going to want to know that you're using it for the benefit of the person with the disability. And, you know, we want you to maintain your receipts. Okay. It's really, let me try to give you an example. You know, whenever you have a purchase that, you know, is just makes sense and you're thinking, no, this is so easy peasy, I would never get questioned about that. But then there might be something that you might think, well, they may not understand what this is. So let me give you an example. My daughter wanted to participate in an inclusive dance class in the community. It was a ballet class. And I paid for her participation with her ABLE funds. And to me, that was so simple to be able to justify if I was ever in an audit. And I would say it promotes her health, it's physical activity. It promotes her independence because she's out there, you know, in the community with typically developing peers, and her quality of life. Well, at the end of the dance class, at the end of the year, they have a recital. Everyone comes to the recital. Everyone dances the same dance and they all wear the same outfits. You have to get the costume. And I paid for the costume, which included, you know, the costume, the tights, the hair clips, everything, a little rhinestone hair clip. So if I'm ever audited and there's this receipt for a rhinestone hair clip, one might say, well, good luck trying to explain that. But I would myself be able to explain to a person, an IRS auditor, this was part of the costume that was required. So I just kind of want you guys to think about it in these terms, that you will be the one making those decisions about what qualifies. Okay, so if there's no further questions about QDEs, let's talk about how we access the money in our ABLE account.
So Kelly, we do have one question, if I can run it by you.
Absolutely.
So, is an iPad for your child to communicate with friends and family and play games a qualified expense?
So let's take a look at that. Does that support them in their independence? I would say as a communication device, helping them to connect with family and friends. It supports them in their communication, which is part of their quality of life and independence. Again, you would have to be the final say on that. But if I wanted to purchase that device for my daughter for those reasons, to me, it seems like it would definitely support her and her independence.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I'll get people that ask, oh, can I use money for a vacation? Can we pay for a vacation? Well, what do you guys think? Does that support a person in their health and their quality of life? I think everyone benefits, right, from a vacation. But here's the difference. I could use money in an ABLE account, and my daughter does have a dream in her life, and that's to go to Disney one day, and she's saving fervently for it. I will be able to use funds in her ABLE account to pay for her airfare to Disney, for her admission to the park. However, she cannot use her ABLE account to pay for everyone in the family to go. So that's kind of like the difference of how that works. It must be for the purposes, the money must be spent for the benefit of the account holder. That's a good question though. So let's look at how we access the money in the ABLE account. Remember that ABLE accounts are online accounts. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to link your ABLE account with an existing bank account. And this is whatever bank account you choose. It could be a checking account, a savings account. It could be any bank. It could be a savings and loan, or it could be, you know, a Bank of America or PNC. It doesn't matter. Whichever bank you have, whichever bank account you choose to link it to, whichever is most convenient for you. So again, let me give you an example. My daughter is not receiving SSI and she doesn't have a job. She doesn't have her own checking account. So right now I have chosen to link her ABLE account with our personal checking account, because we're the ones that are putting money into the ABLE account, and we're the ones that would be withdrawing the money from the ABLE account to reimburse for expenses. So for us, it makes sense. Once she receives services, SSI benefits, or maybe has a job, we can go in, log in online, and change this linked bank account at any time. So whatever you think is most convenient. So that's how you're going to access the account. The other way that you can access the funds is by paper checks or paper deposits. We do offer a paper enrollment, and we also offer forms to make deposits and withdrawals through a form. It does take much longer because it's going through snail mail, and there is an additional fee that applies. I believe it's $2.50 per written check, but it is available to folks who want to do that. Our other option is the prepaid card option, which is something I'm going to talk about next, but that's a very convenient way to access those funds. So now we're looking at some of the features that are unique to Maryland ABLE. Again, out of the 44 ABLE programs we have nationwide, they all have the same basic regulations, that $15,000 a year, the $100,000 account limit, after which, SSI benefits are impacted, the same eligibility criteria, but then every program can have some flexibility in having features that they feel supports their community. Here in Maryland, we have a couple of them that I'd like to share with you. One of them is our gifting page. This comes with your ABLE account. You'd have to choose to activate the gifting page whenever you wanted to use it, but it's really easy, but it's a fabulous way to have family and friends support the savings and investment goals of the account holder. I can't say enough about this. It's so easy to use. And I did mention to you before that my daughter is saving for her dream trip. So she's decided that instead of getting another video game for her birthday or for the holidays, she would like people to make a contribution to her ABLE account for her trip. So she's able to send a link to that gifting page by text. You can email it, you can send it through Messenger, and that person can receive it. And it's so easy to use. You just type in the amount you want to put in, you want to contribute, and however you want to do that, by credit card or your checking account, you hit send and it goes automatically to her ABLE account. It's really easy to use, and people are using it. As a matter of fact, I'd like to share this as well. We have 373 account holders who have activated their gift page, and over the last since we've been open, they have received over $2 million in gifts. There's 373 account holders. People are definitely using this, and I've seen it used multiple ways. Special Olympics athletes, they may send a link out and saying, hey, I made it to the next level of our competition. We're going to be going to Delaware, and can you help me with some of the expenses related to that? People are have used it that way. I've also seen it being used for people who are saving for their own apartment or furniture for their apartment. People, whatever savings goal they have, it's just a great way to help send that out to family and friends who would normally be willing to support them anyway. The other option we have is the prepaid card, and this is one of those ways that you can access the funds in your ABLE account. And this is really all about the convenience of accessing the funds. One of the things that you can do with the prepaid card is you're going to be able to load funds from your ABLE account onto the card, and then you can use it online or in the community. This is nice because the person, the account holder and the ALR have money loaded on the card, but it doesn't provide access to all the funds in the ABLE account. You determine how much you want to put onto that account. One of the best things about this card, for me anyway, or for parents that are trying to teach their children or adult children about saving and spending and budgeting, is this ABLE prepaid card. It allows them to have the independence to go out and make purchases. When school opened this year, my daughter was able to go to Target, pick out her school supplies. She went up to the register, paid for it herself, very self-empowered. She was able to, you know, make choices about what she wanted to purchase. She got up to the register. There was no anxiety about, did she get out the right amount of money? She just scanned her card, and she felt really empowered about that. And so that's one way that I've seen it really benefit our family. It's also taught her a lot about the cost of living. You know, I link things on that prepaid card, like her cell phone and her monthly cell phone expense, and things that she's going to use anyway. But prior to that, she would have never known that there was costs associated with her cell phone or her prescriptions or her school lunch account. But now that she's got this prepaid card and she's able to use it and watch how much money is on the account, it's starting to create this awareness about that. The nice thing about it is that it does give you the feature to upload receipts for easy record keeping. It will let you customize your spending and alert features. So for example, you can maybe make it so that you can't make purchases over $100, or, you know, whatever, however you feel that it would best support your family member. You can block certain merchants if you felt like that would be helpful and beneficial. Lots of good features about this, but the main thing is it's very quick and easy access to the funds in the account. There is an additional fee to have this card. It doesn't automatically come with your Able account, but if you would like to have one, the fee is $1.25 per month. And this is something that is going to be charged whether you use the card or you don't. So for folks that are using their Able accounts and accessing funds, this might be a convenient thing, okay? However, if you're going to have an Able account and you're just using it for long-term savings or investment, you may not need the Able card, because why pay $15 a year for an account for a card that you don't really need? But again, just to reiterate, let's take that example of the dance class that I registered my daughter for. I could have gone online, registered her for the class, charged it on my credit card, then logged into her Able account, withdrew the money for the $250 class, sent it to my checking account. I could have paid my credit card bill. Or I could have taken, which I did, the prepaid card, registered her for the class, put the prepaid card number in there, and it automatically came off the card. Either way, we accomplished the same thing, right? She got to participate in the dance class. We used the Able funds to pay for it because it was a qualified disability expense. Which one was more convenient? The prepaid card. Okay, just something to think about. And we also have payroll deduction. This is available now for the account holder or the ALR. So we have this form available on our website as well for those who would like to make payroll deduction contributions. Any questions about gift card or the prepaid card? I'm sorry, the gifting page or the prepaid card?
Thanks, Kelly. I think you pretty much answered this question, but I don't want to dismiss it. So if you want to pay for your daughter's airline ticket from the Able account, does a check need to go directly to the airline, or can you pay for it and then get reimbursed from the Able account?
So the Able account doesn't have a checkbook with it. It doesn't have a checking account feature. So you could pay for that airline ticket however you want, either the prepaid card if you had it, or you could charge your prepaid card on, you know, one of your credit cards or whatever, and then take a withdrawal from the Able account to reimburse yourself for that payment.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So let's look at that Maryland Able tax incentive again. Oops. We have a Maryland state income tax. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. So you can have access to an income tax. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that for folks who contribute to an Able account, you can take $2,500, you can take a $2,500 access income. Oh my goodness gracious, I am very sorry about that. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied right now. But for those that are people that are Maryland state taxpayers, you live in Maryland and you're paying Maryland state taxes, if you contribute to an ABLE account, you can claim up to $2,500 per ABLE account per beneficiary on your Maryland state taxes. This doesn't apply to your federal taxes. It only applies to Maryland. So if someone is married and filing joint, they can claim up to $5,000 on their Maryland state taxes. So grandma living in Florida, she can still contribute to an ABLE account. However, this is not going to apply to her because she lives in Florida and probably doesn't pay Maryland state taxes. So that is how that works. Any questions about the income deduction on the Maryland state taxes?
Does not appear so. Thanks.
Okay. So remember, we talked a little bit about economic stimulus payments. That was a great way for folks to be able to put that money into an ABLE account, decide when they want to spend it. Social Security has changed their mind about the way they're looking at stimulus payment money. And initially you had to spend it. You could keep it for up to 12 months, but then the money had to be spent or it would count as an asset. They have changed their ruling about that, but it is still a great way to be able to put money into your ABLE account, protect those assets. They're available to you at any time. Again, any interest that you're earning on your savings or investment, you're not paying taxes on it. You can access the funds at any time. So it's still a good thing to think about when who knows? I don't know if we're going to be getting any more stimulus payments, but if so, it's a good option to think about. So let's look at the cost of having an ABLE account. We do have an annual maintenance fee of $35 a year. It's withdrawn quarterly from your ABLE account and it's prorated. So folks who opened an ABLE account yesterday are not going to be paying $35 this year because they didn't have that account January through November, okay, beginning of November. There's also some asset-based fees if you choose some of the investment options, and they really just depend upon which selection you've chosen. So we do recommend that you see the disclosure book on our website for those specific fees for that. When it comes time to make the decision as to whether you want to enroll in it for an ABLE account, you can do that directly from our website. If you're interested in a Maryland ABLE account, we recommend that you actually type in our URL, go to www.marylandable.org, where you can find our program disclosure book that gives you much more details than what I can get into during this 1-hour presentation. We've got frequently asked questions and all the forms that you'll need. But if you decided you wanted to open an ABLE account, you can do it right from that website. Just open an ABLE account now. It's that little maroon button. You're going to see on that something that says someday a BNY Mellon company. Don't be alarmed. You're still at the Maryland ABLE website. That's our program manager. You know, Maryland ABLE is facilitated by the state of Maryland, right? But we are not a bank. The state of Maryland's not a bank. We had to partner with a financial institution, and that is BNY Mellon. Okay, so they're our program managers. So if you see their logo and you see that information, it's okay. When you go to open your ABLE account, there's a couple things you should have handy with you. You're going to need Social Security number for the account owner, as well as for the ALR if there's going to be one, right? If you are an ALR that's opening an account for someone under the age of 18, it's no problem. You know, you'll need to be on that account until that person is 18. But if they're over the age of 18, you're going to need to have those consent papers available to upload. Again, this could be a copy of your guardianship papers. It could be a copy of power of attorney over property, right? Or it could be the limited power of attorney over ABLE accounts only. You want to upload there at that time. And then you're going to need that account information for whichever bank account you have chosen to link to your ABLE account. So you want the routing number and that account number. Once you've opened your ABLE account, you can log in anytime and manage your account online. There's things you can do there. You can make contributions, take withdrawals. You can change those investment options. If anything about your address, phone number, email changes, you go ahead and log in and make those changes there as well. If you need any technical assistance with managing your account, We do have a customer support team that's available Monday through Friday that you can call. That's the number on the screen right there. So let's just say, for example, oh gosh, I remember Kelly talking about this gifting page. I'd like to know how to activate that. I can't figure that out. Give them a call. They'll walk you through that screen because they actually can see your screen and they can walk you through step by step. It's pretty helpful there. Okay, so these are some important numbers to remember. I want to be aware of our time, so I'm not going to go through all of those again, but this is a good little recap that you'll have on your slides when you get those, just to give you a little refresher about that. We want you to stay connected with us. We really do. Please consider visiting our website and signing up for our quarterly newsletter. I try to make sure that any information about changes to the program, important things that you want to know about ABLE accounts, managing your ABLE account is going to be in that newsletter. So consider signing up for that. You can reach out to us if you have additional questions at questions@Maryland ABLE. We're happy to help you with those kind of things at any time. We've got the customer support team available for technical support. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I know I'm very active on the Facebook page. I try to put things related to financial literacy, benefits, Medicaid. So there's lots of great resources on our website, as well as information about the ABLE program and any changes or things that we have there and any upcoming events. One of the resources that it's not on this slide, but I want to do a little brag about this, because through a partnership with the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Council, they have developed a fabulous tool for self-advocates and family members. It's called the Guide to Maryland ABLE. And it's a great tool because it's a user's guide that just breaks things down into very plain language, detailed steps. So I think we've heard some great feedback from families and self-advocates who have been using that guide. I want to let you know that that's available to you as well. And if anyone needed a print copy for whatever reason, you can reach out to us at questions@marylandable.org and I can send that to you. But we also will have it available on the Maryland DD Council website. You can download the accessible version there as well. So we've reached the end of our presentation, and I want to take time to answer any questions that we didn't get to.
So thank you very much, Kelly. We do have another question, and for everybody out there, now would certainly be your time to get those last questions into Kelly. And it looks like we have a couple coming in. And first question we have here is, would I need guardianship of property or person or both? And I assume the follow-up would be to be the ALR. I think can answer the or finish the end of that.
Okay, so guardianship versus power of attorney is a very personalized answer to. It would be personalized based on the needs of the person. Okay, this is something that you would definitely want to reach out to an attorney to talk about that, what is best for your family member. And I know that the good folks at Elville could answer those questions far better than I could, but you don't have to have guardianship to serve as the ALR. But if they are an adult over the age of 18, you would have to have at least the power of attorney over property or the limited power of attorney over ABLE only in order to be able to serve in that capacity. So for folks who haven't really done anything yet, they start out with that limited power of attorney over ABLE because the form is already developed. You just need to take it to a notary and have it signed by the ALR and the account holder and witnessed, and that serves for that purpose. However, that's going to be limited to just your ABLE account. It's not going to work for any of their other accounts. It's not going to help you out in the event you go to the emergency room and they want to know if you have the right to make medical decisions. That doesn't apply, right? So it's totally different. So you might want to just check with an attorney to see what is the best plan for the future.
Okay. Next question says, hi, Jeff. Would it be possible to send a link for that site that Kelly just spoke about? And Kelly, I apologize. I was jotting a couple notes down and missed the link that you mentioned. Was that the specialneedsanswers.com link that you alluded to earlier?
Yes, so www.specialneedsanswers.com is the site that I mentioned. And again, Elville is featured on there as well. They do a great job explaining the difference between the 3 different types of special needs trust and ABLE accounts, and which tool can do what, and which tool is best for what type of purpose. So that's a really great tool right there. So that would be one. The other link that I mentioned was to the DD Council website. And I can send that to you as well. I believe it's, I don't have that memorized. I don't know if they abbreviate, if they do, marylandddcouncil.org. I can send that link to you. But that's where our guide to Maryland ABLE can be found, which is a really helpful tool. Yeah.
Very good.
One thing I do want to say, though, about seeking the help of an attorney regarding guardianship, power of attorney, or special needs trust. This is an area, guys, where not all attorneys are equal. You really need to seek the advice of someone that specializes in working with people with special needs, that has an understanding of public benefits. So just because someone's an attorney and they do divorces and car accidents and wills and trust, that's not the kind of person that you want to seek your advice from, right? You want to find someone who specializes in estate planning, elder care law. Okay, that's why this site, specialneedsanswers.com, has that great tool in there. That's why Elville and Associates is featured there, because they have a lot of experience in working with families who have a family member with a disability. Okay, that's just a word to the wise about that. I've traveled around the state and talked to a lot of families who just went to the local attorney down the street, or my neighbor's father's an attorney or whatever, and they got these trusts and they weren't special needs trusts. And then they found out that, the person still lost their benefits. Okay, so you really need to make sure you're talking to someone who has experience. And I can assure you that the attorneys at Elville and Associates, they have experience working with folks with special needs.
Well, thank you, Kelly. We do have another question. Excuse me, and that question is, what receipt do I save to show my $2,500 contribution for tax exemption purposes? I think that's a good question.
It is. So if you're the person that's making the contributions, you can print a receipt off. If you're doing a gift contribution through the gift page, you can just print your receipts off of that, and there'll be a place on your, and I apologize, I don't know the exact line number or location on the taxes, but it allows you, just like for contributions to a 529 account, there'll be a place for you to put contributions to a Maryland ABLE account. And also the ABLE account owner, him or herself, will receive a statement at the end of the year that shows the amount of contributions that have been sent to their account. So the difference is, let's just say my husband and I are making contributions to my daughter's account, and it's, let's just say it's $2,000, and my sister every year sends money in. That's going to show up, her contributions will show up on that statement as well. So it would be my sister's responsibility to keep a copy of her receipts for her contributions so that she could claim those as an income deduction on her Maryland taxes. And my husband and I would do the same thing.
Okay. And we're having a couple of requests to send that link for the guide to the Maryland ABLE documents. Yes, I will send that out. For those of you that are new to our webinars, I do send out what I like to think is a comprehensive post-webinar follow-up email with a lot of good information and links to specific areas of interest. So I'll be sending all that and more, which I'll detail here in just a minute. So let's see if we have any last questions. Looks like we don't, so but please get them in if you do have another question. So I'd like to thank Kelly for her ongoing partnership. We've known Kelly here for 6 years at this point, I think, Kelly, and just a wonderful resource, a wonderful advocate for the special needs community. You know, she's helped countless Elville and Associates clients with their ABLE accounts over the years, and just a wonderful resource and partner here. So we'd like to thank you, Kelly, for your ongoing partnership and for always stepping in and giving these presentations, which are invaluable, which is why we keep bringing you back. And we're going to bring you back again. So thank you. And yeah, it's our pleasure. So as some follow-up, I've jotted some things down. I will send the video out for this presentation. So if you want to review it or send it to friends and family that may have an interest in it, I'll do that. I'm going to send you the link actually to our Elville and Associates Global Special Needs Planning presentation, which may be helpful to you if for those of you that haven't seen it. It's called What Families Need to Know About Planning for a Loved One with Special Needs. Goes into all the ins and outs of what you need to know, including housing, guardianship, planning for the future, special needs trusts, all you wanted to know, and more about those, and much, much more. So I'll go ahead and send that out to you, along with the link for the special needs answers articles. I saw there were about 4 of them on there, so I'll send you the link to that, as well as the guide to the Maryland ABLE document. I will find that link as well and send that to you. Also, as it relates to our Elville webinar series here today, we have 3 left before the end of the year, and then we're going to come back strong in January. Today at 1:30, we have part 3 of our wellness series, Taking Charge of Your Health Journey. And this wellness series has really taken off. It's been, they've been some of the best webinars that we've hosted this entire year. I personally have just gotten a lot out of the presentations that Miss Ellen Platt and Dr. Michelle Fritsch have offered. So not too late to register. I hope you can join us. If not, it'll be on our YouTube channel for you to take a look at later. And then December 13th, we have the Essentials of Estate Planning and Elder Law by Stephen Elville. And December 15th, Legacy, Charitable Giving, and Philanthropy, also offered by Steve. And then we're going to take a little break going into the new year, and then we'll be coming back strong. So let's see if we have any final questions. And a lot of thank yous to Kelly, of course. As always, thank you. And you know, here at Elville & Associates, you know, consider us a resource. We always want to provide, you know, great education to our clients and the communities we serve. We do specialize here in special needs planning. I think if Steve Elville, our principal here at the firm, had it his way, he would solely be a special needs planner. He really enjoys working with families that have loved ones with special needs, just finds them to be the most wonderful, caring people. And I think he would actually do that 100% of the time, but that's not going to be the case. But we do work with families with special needs very frequently here, and consultations are free. So if you want to come in, talk about your situation, we can try to craft a solution to your situation and get you started on the right foot. No better time than now to kind of get started and get the ball rolling. So thank you for being part of our presentation today, and thank you to Kelly, and we look forward to hosting you again soon, and hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.